of Boba episode 1?
Episode 1, yeah, we could talk about.
All right. So I immediately contacted the Canadian and said, "There's no way that the regular normies out there are going to like this episode. There's no way." And he was like, "What are you talking about? It's great." And I was like, "No, they're not going to." And my concerns were founded. There's been a lot of questionable comments online about how boring it was, but I thought it was really good. I did share on the what is that called, Discord, that was it Park and Recreation? I never watched that show.
Yeah, Patton Oswalt.
He was doing a filibuster one time, and he described how he would shoot Booba coming out of the Scarlet pit, and they pretty much recreated it word for word, where he said it's pretty awesome. He was like, you'll see the suns, and one arm comes busting through, and that's exactly how they did it. It was pretty great. So what did you think about it overall? Kachung, what'd you think?
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
The Boba head.
I think it's a good start. I mean, yeah, he moved pretty slow for the fight scenes, but other than that, you got a lot of other action going on.
How much sunscreen do you think he needs?
Why does he still need it as much as he's been out in the desert? You know what? I one of the takeaways, which it might sound kind of weird, I didn't realize how loyal the pigmen were until that episode, because although it took them forever to show up, when they finally did, they were all snorting and grunting and running with their swords, and I thought for sure they were just going to peace out and leave as soon as the fighting started, but they showed up.
They're great.
They knew him for about 30 seconds, and they really put their life on the line for him. So
yeah,
that was a little bit.
Oh, the Gamorrean guard was my first action figure when I was
really.
Yeah,
I don't even know if I
didn't get one till Return of the Jedi. So
here's the pig.
So my question would be, why does he need to sleep in his bath? Why do you guys think he needs to sleep in that?
Yeah, essential oils inside. I think because, well, obviously his time out in the desert for so long and being in the Sarlacc probably took a toll on his body in general. And with him being, I don't think the idea that him being a clone and aged is affecting him, because he's not altered clone. He's just perfectly unaltered. So it shouldn't be like any issue with the cloning process. But it's probably just because of his time in the, he was running around the desert for, bare clothes, nothing for a whole time, and it's gotta take a toll on you, I'm sure.
The Tuskens were pretty neat.
The Tuskens were, but if I had to look back on it, I don't know how to direct, but I don't know if you needed 14 straight minutes of him being drugged behind a big hairy elephant. I think you could have maybe cut some of that out and then put a little bit more action, just because the normies are going to want that action. So I didn't know if that was completely necessary, because it was a lot of him stumbling around being drugged. The question I did have is, what happened? Did they ever show what happened to the sellout who get stitches that was screaming? He's trying to get away. You remember that? And he was
got
crushed.
Dude, he got
body slammed. He got.
That's right. Okay, yeah, okay. I was rewatching it today, but I didn't get to the end. I was like, "What happened to this guy?" I totally forgot it.
He got murdered, bro. They left him behind.
You know what's funny? There's a couple after that episode. There's a couple of things I found out, like who voiced who and played what. So that Rhodian, just some random person played it, but they actually had a voice actor voicing the noises that, and it was Sam Witwer, the Darth Maul voice actor.
That's awesome.
They got him just to show up behind a booth, go wah, 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 for a few minutes. And then one other thing that I thought was really fun was in that first episode when they have the beginning when everyone's presenting tribute to Fett or whoever it is, right? So when the Trandoshan comes in with the Wookiee pelt, right? I thought it was great scene. But what I didn't realize and I thought was cool was that the person playing the Trandoshan is the director, Robert Rodriguez. He's playing the leader of that group.
Oh, that's fun.
I think he played a couple more people in that too, where he just used the voice. I think he did the voice. I remember seeing somebody saying that.
But yeah,
he did a lot of the random nonsensical voices, I think, in that scenes. I liked it. I thought, okay, so you didn't need, because people were comparing it to Mandalorian. you didn't need to explain yourself in the Mandalorian. You just can start, and everybody's on the same page. You know, everybody's on the same footing. I can start off with immediately fighting because it's a Mandalorian. Oh, look, he's a guy in armor and he shoots people. But I really did think you were going to have to explain, and I'm glad they did it. I really need this team of and these brilliant, beautiful men, and they need to kick some of these other people off out of Disney and out of Star Wars, never allow them to come back. But these gentlemen who are running this show right now, I want them to explain as much as they possibly can, even if it bores the normies, because what happens when they don't give you a great explanation is they try to go back later and force some kind of storyline that doesn't make sense when they didn't explain it well the first time. So I don't mind them taking their time to explain exactly how he got out of the pit and what happened, just because I don't want it 10 years from now. They're like, oh, well, what happened was the son from, no, just let us hear what happened. And I thought it was fine. I didn't have an issue with it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think if I could interject, as someone who would probably be considered a normie,
as much Star Wars crap as you buy now, no, sir, you're not.
No, but I still think as far as like my knowledge of like the canon and the characters and stuff, as much as I enjoy Star Wars, I think I would fit into that segment. And I think I would agree that there was a lot of disappointment in the episode because of the fact that it was lacking things that I think that there was like an expectation of. I think that there's such an ingrained idea of Boba as such a like hardcore badass. And I think that the episode maybe didn't do as good a job of portraying that, especially because of like his deficiencies as like maybe as an actor. And so I think part of like the pod and them kind of showing that he's still very damaged is almost sort of like a built-in excuse for why his fighting ability is not up to like the par that you would like expect it to be.
Now, I think that also can only come into play because he was his helmet off. Like he had his helmet off in that moment. And when he puts his helmet on, they just have a stunt double underneath it, as we can tell from the
they kind of shot themselves in the foot though to a degree by kind of doing it that way, because they could have. I don't know. I mean, it was only episode 1. I haven't watched today's episode yet. I don't know what their game plan is like for the long play on the show. So maybe as he heals and gets kind of more acclimated to his role, he'll sort of bounce back better into like proper form.
We'll get some good shots of the Gamorreans helping him inject steroids. And
they'll put him on the Marvel diet of like chicken and broccoli, and he'll get rid of
I will say though, like traditionally though, he is a gadget guy. He's not necessarily a
super
boots up and fight. He's like trip mines and blow torches and guns, not necessarily.
So he's like Batman
melee,
which is fine, but they also didn't really. They just didn't really show that in this episode.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
So I think, like you said, for normies or people who are not really well versed in the character background, it just overall was like it was just slow. I don't think anyone can say that episode wasn't like a slow burn.
Well, absolutely not, because I was telling Hoosier earlier that Favreau actually apologized to the fans because the director of that, I guess, was saying it's going to be nonstop action, like hold your balls. It's going to happen. But he explained in the apology, he was talking about overall. And of course, they made these episodes a long time ago. So he's probably thinking what episode 4 was like and forgot that episode 1 was a little bit slower.
Yeah.
So I think
they
that
filmed all the flashback stuff at once, and then they went and filmed the modern stuff separately.
I mean, I fully expected to pick up a lot. I mean, this is, you can joke all you want, but this is not Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars. This is, Filoni and Favreau, and they did so well on The Mandalorian. I think that, to have high expectations of them is not wrong, and I think one episode in is too early to write it off yet. I think there's a lot of growth that's going to happen in the series.
No, I enjoyed him more in The Mandalorian the first time he appeared, but maybe that was just because it was the first time he appeared.
I will also say that I've kind of changed my attitude about the badass chick that's with him. I was going to roll my eyes, and I'm still rolling my eyes a little bit just because it's hard for me to trust Disney because I know that they're always trying to force feed some kind of here, take this. We want you to like this, whether it makes sense or not. But the more I do, she's obviously a very talented actress. She does pretty well with physical stuff. And the more I think about it, the more that Chris just pretty much shit all over Star Wars forever and says, screw you all the fans of the world. But the gentleman is a little bit older, right? And I think he's actually supposed to be playing a slowed down version. I think that's kind of what we're going to get in this story arc. I'm assuming is that we're going to get a guy who's older. He's been beat up and he's trying to do things differently. That's why he didn't come in and just shoot up the whole damn place like he could have if he wanted to. But I think they're going to do a lot of the fighting and more of the hand-to-hand combat and that stuff. I think they're going to leave it to her a lot.
Now, I also feel one thing I feel is that so I was gonna say earlier because I looked it up to double check. It's really weird. It's 7 episodes is how long this is. They're doing it, not 6 or anything, just 7. Just strange.
Oh.
But
at this point, 2 of us have watched episode 2, so they're
Yeah.
gonna have to hit the accelerator button here pretty soon.
So this is the modern stuff, and yeah. So my thinking is that, especially with like, because it's such an easy character to do a stunt double with, because you just put the helmet on and that's it, and you can have someone else underneath it, right? I was wondering the idea of that, because this is going to be him in his adult age and such. Are we going to see him? Because we already saw some like little glimpses of him in episode 2 when he was a kid, and like they did some different shots and whatnot. I'm wondering if we might get like moments where it shows him at around the time of Empire Strikes Back or A New Hope, and it's just a stunt double in the helmet, and then Tomorrow's voice, and then we'll get like some moments like that.
I'm concerned though because of what they have done, and I'm afraid that they will not do that, which is the smartest, best, and easiest thing to do. And instead, what they'll do is they'll do that if they want to, but then they'll try to de-age him, and that way they can show his, because they seem to love that technology, and if they're going to try to de-age him, that'd be really annoying because when you could just put a helmet on him.
Well, I think at the same, the helmet here. I mean, the de-aging is so well that I don't think it's a problem, but I do think that's an easy carry to keep the helmet on.
Yes, no, I don't care how good the technology is. He's got a damn helmet. Let's keep the helmet on. Like, there's no reason to.
What's interesting is with the kid, you see his reflection in the dad's and in Django's helmet, right? And like they kept it in reflection, so obviously they didn't want to show him at that.
All right, so then I'll ask Kachung, since he is the fanboy of this particular fella. Do you like that they're going to expand this, or is it going to be one of those things where you're hoping they do it right because by expanding it, it could actually hit your fandom a little bit different of him?
No, I don't. I honestly, I don't mind what they do with it, as long as they do something, because we've been waiting a long time, and I don't disappoint.
Because I would tell you right now, I do disappoint and I do bitch a lot. This might be surprising to hear. And I am not exactly, I am not exactly thrilled about the Kenobi show that's coming out, because there could be a lot of fuckery going on. I don't know the word to put it. That it does concern me that, and it also seems like other people are more empowered. Not these 2 gentlemen. It seems like other people are getting a lot more say in that show, so it does concern me as a Kenobi fan.
We know what you're saying. We know what you're saying. We know what you're saying. I can read between the lines.
Old man.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Just when you're a fan of something, it's like sometimes it might be best just to leave it alone and try to expand it. And it's kind of like, eh.
You know what, man? With anything, but especially with Star Wars, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. There's always people who want it. And then if it's not exactly what that's the problem with doing nostalgic stuff, right? Is that people envision something for so long that there's obviously going to be people that are disappointed because they made up such insane fan fiction in their heads or beliefs on characters that it's hard to see someone else put that vision, to life. So, I think maybe not that you shouldn't be upset, but I think like, especially when it comes to the Obi-Wan stuff, I think they're trying to pick up a little bit like where they left off with those characters. So like, if you are one of those people who enjoyed episodes 1 through 3, I don't think you should be concerned about what they're going to do with that show. I think it can't be worse than, Ray.
Oh no, it can't be. It absolutely cannot be worse than that shit.
But you said episode 9 is the best one, Chris.
I
Yeah.
said you didn't let me finish. I said
I
episode 9 was the best because it was finally over. That's what
Okay,
I said.
I'm already hovering on the mute button again.
I was going to say, I was waiting for the mute button again.
That's what I said before you muted me. I said 9 was the best because the pain was finally over.
You know what though? I will say, and this is maybe not the place for this, but what I will say that I hear what you're saying. You're damn, you do, you're damn, you know. That's why Daddy Lucas sold it in the first place because he was tired. Even though if you watch that first, second, and third one, he's about the worst director I've ever seen. I'm just gonna put that out there because those actors are all great actors, and they had no ability to act under his leadership. There was just like they were horrible. So they had to have been told to act as bad as they did in those movies. But I will say this though. There's a difference between having something like this behemoth that is Star Wars, where idiots like me will pay an ungodly amount for something that I don't even really necessarily like, but it says Star Wars on it. I am unboxing the 12 Days of Christmas socks after Christmas because I got it as a Christmas gift, and I'm like giggling every time, even though the socks don't even fit me. I don't know who they're for. They're for like girls or something. They're so tiny, and I'm like, oh, I'm trying to squeeze it on my fat foot, trying to get this damn sock to fit. Instead, what Disney's doing is saying, no, like no matter what, we have these nerds, we got them no matter what. So instead, we're going to try to like lecture them and go this other direction and get this other fan base. Whenever obviously what they're doing is not making anyone happy, and I do think that's why these two gentlemen now have taken over these shows. And I don't think it's a coincidence that most people are liking these shows for the most part, being pretty patient so far with some of these shows because there were some slow moments in The Mandalorian too.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever it's the actual head of Disney who gets involved or Star Wars who gets involved in it, people have no patience whatsoever. So there's a difference between just being damn you don't and then just obviously antagonizing the shit out of people.
Yeah, but like if you pick something apart enough, you're not going to end up liking it or you're going to be disappointed. So
yeah, I mean, I think about that in terms of like, I think I'm such a Marvel nerd that as much as I enjoy all the MCU stuff, if I really sat and did it as a nerd, right, and picked apart how different the movies are from the comic books, you would sit there and you would literally say to yourself, well, there's not one good MCU movie because they all take such wild departures from some of the comic book stories.
For you, it would be like the Guardians is the perfect example.
Yeah, and you know what? As much as I enjoy that as a movie, it's so wildly different than the comic book versions of that team. It's like almost like a different
night and day tone.
Yeah, so it's really tough to sit and like. That's how I look at it because that's how invested you guys are in Star Wars. That's how I look at it. When you talk
how does one manage to get this past the YouTube censors? That's just an amazing name. Like, I don't know how you did that. Like, I'm impressed. Like, that's awesome.
Richard, Jedi Richard. Can't be canceled first names.
I'm super impressed with that. Yeah, and you know what? You are right though, because when people do tear it apart, like going back to Marvel, I had zero faith and thought it's supposed to be the worst movie ever. And Black Widow, and I watched it, it wasn't that bad. Like it was okay. I was told that Ant-Man was sucked, and I watched it, and I thought it was pretty good.
And then for you, an example for you, Doctor Strange too, as well.
Doctor Strange was a little bit hard, and like I was saying, I like Doctor Strange. It was, but because I'm a Doctor Strange nerd, it was a lot of. I was going, like I was making a lot of noises.
The exact same thing when She-Hulk comes out or more Daredevil.
I really enjoyed it.
I think the second Doctor Strange is going to suck donkey balls.
You suck donkey balls on that.
Wow.
I honestly think that a lot of the movies coming out from here point. I think there's gonna be a big drop off on the MCU. I do. I don't think.
Yeah,
there's gonna be a significant drop off.
We can make a whole episode on that, but I think a whole YouTube show, I should say, on that. But I think that I think when the MCU started, they were dedicated more to the characters and making stories, and I think that their success and money has driven them to a point where now they're more concerned with like equity and current events than making good comic book material. That's my personal opinion.
All right. Well, I guess to land the plane, then what's one thing you're hoping to see this? I guess I don't know if they're going to do more seasons this season of the Book of Boba. What is one thing you want to see?
I want to
Casper?
see more spider droids and a tour of the palace, please.
Yeah, toward the. Hey guys, welcome to my crib.
This is where the magic happens, right here, right next to
This
the.
is it's a Rancor path. The magic
Where the
happens.
brains are transplanted into the spider droids.
I would love to see them go into the dungeon where they're running around. That would be really great. But I think personally, I think it'd be really good to see. Yeah, I would like to see some more of kind of like those vibes where they're the criminal, like him organizing all the crime essentially, and then getting like that kind of aspect of it all, almost. But I'm also just really interested in seeing what we can get out of this part of the world.
I will say this is something I wrote down when we were gonna do this last week, possibly or whatever. So it is what it is, but I want to see how because we've been told through cartoons and comic books that the Hutts are this terribly scary, organized crime situation, and I can't imagine that they're completely thrilled with the way he's handling stuff. He just shows up and says, "This is mine now." But I mean, they let Bib Fortuna play around, so maybe they don't care that much. But
yeah, I can't remember how long it had been between the two.
yeah,
Because it's about a couple of years. So,
and I would imagine as snaky as Bib Fortuna was, he's probably giving them money if they ever showed up and asked any questions. And I'm not 100% sure that Boba would be giving out money. So I just kind of want to see how the slugs are going to handle this situation.
The Hutt that was probably supposed to take over is busy being like a galactic rock star, I think.
He has his own rock band.
Oh wait, is he perfect? We can finally see Jabba's son again that we've never seen since the.
Oh, you know what? That actually might be something that these guys would do that. They always do random
because
shit like
you had his son. I can't remember his name, but the fucking little boy. So
he rode on the backpack.
Rode of the Hutt. Yeah, little backpack. Yeah. We only see him twice in the movie and one episode next to Jabba.
And then they never mention him again.
So, hey, I will say this show right now is 0 out of 10 until Rode of the Hutt shows up, and then it's a 10 out of 10. There's my
okay. So
my spec for this show is we're gonna see Jabba's son come back.
So Kachung wants a MTV Cribs episode.
With the spider droids.
I will say this though, when they always kind of start off by showing you the palace. It is really big for us to only have seen like 2 rooms now, because we saw where he's getting his bath, and then we've seen the throne room basically. So that is a huge place. Issues wants to see more of the rock band. Apparently, he wants to.
I want to see an episode entirely dedicated to a day in the life of a Gamorrean, and I would like to see what those fat pig bastards do when they're not working. You know?
I will say this before we go though: is anybody else?
That's the first time I've seen a Star Wars character where I was like, I could do this cosplay.
I will say though, before we go, it's weird that they're like out in the bright. It looks really weird because they were always in like a smoky, dark room.
That's what's funny, right? And they had a glow up, dude. They lost some weight and put some more bulk on.
And then now they're just like out in the open in the sunlight. I'm like, that's a really weird, like,
hilarious.
That's weird. Yeah.
Now, on top of the cosplay, I was going to ask that. Kachun, cosplay ideas for the show so far from the first episode.
In the desert. You know
would you do the Tusken, like how like the Tusken chief is, or the
I like the
modern
Tusken,
Boba.
I like the Tusken with the dreadlocks.
The second in command.
Yeah.
You know how I love things that make me hot.
Man, if this was Twitch, I'd clip the shit out of that and play that on my show all the time. That would have been clipped right there. I can't clip it on here, but this was Twitch. That's a clip, sir.
And with it being the desert, I mean, it just adds.
That's the whole thing.
All right. So I guess that's good. Anybody have anything else to add? I think that's it. Do we have anything else?
Yeah, I guess we'll just talk. Well, next week we'll talk about episode 2. So basically, we'll be a week behind, essentially.
Let's talk about it, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.